Hi, Julie Rader here with the astrological update for the Aries solar eclipse happening on April 19th at 9:12 p.m. Pacific time. This is a huge one. I mean, we are just in the midst of rapid change and transformation. I am sure you feel it in the air, either in your own life or you're seeing the massive changes in the lives of those around you. It is a time like never before. So this is the second of two Aries new moons. Usually we have one new moon and one full moon in each sign each year. However, when a new moon or a full moon happens at the very beginning, early degrees of a sign, then we will have another one as well. And that's exactly what happened this time. So we had the first Aries new moon at 0 degrees of Aries, and now the second new moon, which is also an eclipse because it is happening near the North Node in Taurus, but it's close enough that it is still, even though they're out of sign, this new moon, the sun and the moon are at 29 degrees, 50 minutes of Aries. There are 29 degrees and 60 minutes in each sign. So it's 10 minutes away from being into Taurus. Anyway, it's a huge one. So we have this solar eclipse making a square, which is a challenging aspect, to Pluto, which is death and rebirth. Pluto, which is very newly in Aquarius, it is just dipping its toe in there, and it's going to retrograde back, finish up its work in Capricorn, and then move in again in January of 2024 back into Aquarius, where it will remain for the next 20 years. So what does this all mean for us? Well, this solar eclipses are times of massive change anyway. I love the way that Susan Miller describes it, where she talks about an eclipse being as if we're walking across this rickety old bridge, wondering if we're going to make it to the other side. And we do. And once we're finally on safe ground, this bridge collapses behind us. And we have this immense sense of gratitude that we made it, but also this feeling of, wow, I can never go back the way I came from or where I came from. That's the feeling of eclipses. That's what eclipses do, especially if they trigger certain planets in your natal chart. So eclipses may not be, every eclipse may not bring massive change in your life because we have 4 to 6 eclipses a year, depending on though where it hits in your chart and what planets it interacts with. Overall, collectively, this square to Pluto is massive transformation. So the sun and moon are together at this eclipse. That's what makes it a new moon. They are also with the North Node, which is what makes it an eclipse. We also have the sun and moon very close to Jupiter, because remember, on the 11th of this month, we had the Jupiter cazimi. That means Jupiter and the sun were together in the sky. So that is close enough where this Jupiter is part of it. Now, Jupiter, even though it's the great benefic in ancient astrology, it is not always beneficial. It is if we remain in a high vibration, and that is what we're being asked to do. We are being asked on such a deep soul level to release. I've been talking about this for as many months as I can remember. Release, declutter everything in your life that is no longer working. So clean out the closets, clean out the garage, the attic, clean it all out. We've got the South Node in Scorpio. It wants us to dig deep into those dark places that we reside in and even internally. Where is it that you're holding on to something that is no longer serving you? It is time to let it go, because as these eclipses come, if we haven't done the work to let it go, it will be let go for us. And it is much more uncomfortable when the eclipses work us because we haven't worked with the energy. So how do we work with the energy? Clean out, declutter, do the deep, hard work. Do the work to release everything that is not essential for your growth, and anything you're carrying that is too heavy. Take off your backpack, unload it, keep only the essentials. Just like when you're on, if you're hiking on a major camping trip and you only take the essentials. Growing up, we used to go up to northern, about 4 hours north of Toronto every year, and we'd go on these week-long canoe trips. And there would be these portages where we'd have to carry the canoes across, and all the food and everything. So on these trips, we only packed what we needed, because if we packed anything that was not essential for the trip, it added extra weight that we had to carry, sometimes a mile on land before we got to the next river or lake that we were canoeing on. And everything is going in the canoes anyway. So what is it that you do not need to take with you on this journey? It is important to trust and to just really let go. This eclipse will do that for us at the very last degrees, when it's at a 29-degree mark. It's the anaretic degree. It's a critical degree. It is critically important that we, in order for these new chapters to, and these new doors to open for us, which they are wanting to, we have to let go of the old so that we have room in our lives for what it is that is coming in, that is waiting for us on the other side. So that's the energy of this eclipse. Now, having Jupiter involved. So Jupiter wants to bring us blessings, and new moons do too. They want to, however, if we are in a negative state of mind, then Jupiter becomes the magnifier. It magnifies what's already there. And with this square to Pluto, it can be devastating. However, if we can work with the energy and say, okay, I surrender, I'm willing to release, even though it may not be easy, I'm releasing all that is no longer serving me. I'm releasing what is only mediocre in my life, so that I can step into the newer version of myself. Where we are going, we've never been before. So do everything possible to raise your vibration. How do you raise your vibration? Meditation, yoga, enjoying life, taking a short road trip. My kids and I recently went to the snow on the backside of Mammoth, and it was so beautiful. We were only there a couple of days, and it was amazing, the mental shift that happened by just getting away and getting into nature and getting away from our everyday life. Do something that is going to give you a change of perspective. If you're feeling low, then get into a higher elevation. That's what we did. We went to 8,400 feet altitude. My son had a little difficulty with the altitude, but get into a higher vibration. Do the things that make your heart sing, because if you can get into a higher vibration, once you step into the flow, you will remain in the flow. And this eclipse can just give you a waterfall of blessings. However, if you're in a downward spiral, this eclipse can be quite challenging. So get into the flow. Again, yoga, meditation, getting into nature, things like that. If you're interested, I just released my moon to Matt. It is all about bringing astrological practices, or astrological, the ancient art of astrology into your yoga practice. There are 8 filmed classes, and it shows you basically how you can create a yoga practice for yourself based on your chart to balance out your energy. So check it out if you're interested, julierader.com. Okay, so what else is happening at the time of this eclipse? We have Mars making a sextile to Mercury. Now, this eclipse is happening 2 days, less than 2 days before Mercury goes retrograde. So it's happening, this eclipse is on the 19th for those of us Pacific time. For many parts of the world, it's on the 20th. And then Mercury stations retrograde on the 21st. So this is right before. So Mercury is just creeping along very slow, makes a very harmonious sextile to Mars right after it goes retrograde. So when Mars and Mercury sextile, this is really where we have an opportunity to launch projects. Now remember, Mercury just went retrograde, so maybe that's not the case so much, but maybe go back. If there's something you've been wanting to put out into the world, start editing it, do the work so that you're able to put it out there. You will feel a surge of energy at this eclipse. So use this energy in a very focused and intentional way. So this eclipse is, well, let's talk again about Mercury retrograde. So when Mercury goes retrograde, we look at the exact chart of when that's happening. This Mercury retrograde is conjunct the moon and conjunct Uranus. This is less than 2 days after the exactitude of the eclipse. Eclipse isn't like our whole life is going to change on the 19th and 20th. This is something that we are going to feel for the next 18 plus months. This is something that has been building, and we're going to, this point is going to be triggered as these other planets go over. So Jupiter will be going over about a month later. We'll be hitting this eclipse point. So at exactitude. And we're going to have Chiron hitting it. This point is going to be triggered over and over again. So this is just the beginning of it. We all know that there is something major going on the collective, in a huge transformation. I know my children are not going to be living through the same world that I have lived through. So we're living through history right now. Where in your life are you ready to make these changes? It's important because this Mercury retrograde, conjunct the moon and conjunct Uranus, it's not even flowing energy. It's going to ebb and flow. There are going to be ups and downs. It is really, we must fasten our seatbelts and be okay with going along for the ride. If we're holding tightly to how things were, it's going to be very uncomfortable. We must surrender. We must surrender the way that things used to be and be willing to accept the change and even be excited for the change. And if we stay in a positive state of mind, the change can be that the change can occur in a way that feels in the flow, enlightening, exhilarating, rather than terrifying. It is completely up to us and how we view it and how we adapt to this change. Okay, so now let's go through each of the signs and see how this eclipse is going to land for you. Aries, everything I just talked about, this is what this eclipse is bringing up for you. It's your eclipse at 29 degrees. It is in your house. And if you were born around the 19th and 20th, even this means that this is your theme for the year. Big change. Do everything possible to keep yourself, as Abraham would say, like Esther Hicks would say, stay on a high flying disc. Because if you are, these changes can be just like an exhilarating roller coaster ride at an amusement park, where lots and lots of big changes. So stay in a high vibration. Aries, first house. So really make sure you're doing things that are good for your body. Take care of your health. Look at your life. This is your opportunity to do an entire makeover or rebranding of yourself, of your life. I have a feeling you're going to look back a year from now and not even recognize yourself, especially if your birthday is at the very end of Aries season. Taurus, this is happening for you in your 12th house. This eclipse, you may really feel the urge to go inward, and I encourage you to do that. Maybe even get away and go on retreat. So this, make sure you're getting plenty of sleep. You might not be able to sleep that night if you're West Coast, because the eclipse is happening in your 12th house, which is a house of sleep, but it's also the house of intuition. You may be getting these intuitive hits. Spend some time alone. Do not force yourself to go out and be with other people, because it's not what you're going to feel like doing this eclipse season. Gemini, this is happening for you in your 11th house. This eclipse is asking you, are the friends that you spend time with, do they reflect who you are? That saying of the 5 people you spend the most time with is a reflection of who you are. Look at these 5 people in your life. Are they a reflection of who you want to be? Maybe it's time to release old friendships that are no longer serving you. Also, just the tribes of people you spend time with. Or if you have any kind of online business or social media based business, this is a time where it can really revamp and do a makeover there as well. Cancer, you are having a complete revamp of your career. So look at what you want in your career. Look at your career goals and restate them. Mercury's going retrograde. You're going to have a chance to go in and re-edit, redo, renew, whatever it is, everything career based. You may be in the limelight also with this eclipse, and welcome it. Leo, this is happening for you in your 9th house. So you may have this urge to do some international travel, and I encourage you to do that, to put that on the books. Also, you may find that you're questioning your old religious or spiritual beliefs, and you may be really looking at what makes sense for you, what no longer serves you, what paradigm shifts need to occur so that you can feel more in alignment with the life that you're living. You may have the urge to study something new on a higher level. Again, you're welcome to check out my Moon to Mat if you'd like, especially if you're a yoga teacher and you want to incorporate astrology into your practices. It's a great way to do it. Or if you've been wanting to do some kind of master's program, this eclipse may really spark that interest in you. Virgo, this is happening for you in your 8th house. You're being asked to go in on a deep psychological level and ask yourself, what no longer serves you? What have you been holding on to? What past pain? What past hurt? What guilt? It is time for you to forgive and for you to let that go so that you can step into the highest version of yourself, so that you can be of service without being weighed down by what has happened in the past. Libra, this is happening for you in your 7th house. This is all about relationships. If a relationship has run its course, then be brave enough to let it go. Or maybe because it is a new moon, it could be a whole new chapter in relationship, or taking a relationship to the next level, or a new relationship coming in. Scorpio, this is happening for you in your 6th house. So this is all about looking at your health. So are you taking care of your health? If it's going to be really important for you, Scorpio, that you are taking the steps before this eclipse or at the time of the eclipse to make sure your health is in order. The things you put into your body, the exercise routines that you embark in. If you're working with the energy, it will not work you. However, if you know these things need to occur and you've been neglecting it, this eclipse can be a huge wake-up call. Also, day-to-day routines. Are you setting a goal for each day? Getting up, working out, doing your sadhana, your spiritual practice, whatever it is. And if not, this eclipse is going to remind you to get back on track. Capricorn, or sorry, Sagittarius. This is happening for us in our fifth house. So, fifth house is the house of children. So, this eclipse can bring a renewal or a revelation in either letting go of something that happened in our childhood, in our relationship with our children, but it's also the house of romance. So, maybe it's time to allow some romance in your life. It's also creativity and entrepreneurship as well. This eclipse can bring some opportunities or some epiphanies in any of these areas. Capricorn, this is happening in your fourth house, the house of home and family. So you are being asked to look at your home and family life. This eclipse may trigger the urge to move or to renovate your home, or maybe there's a family relationship that needs to be either released or really healed. And so this eclipse is asking us to take a good hard look at home and family. Aquarius, this is happening for you in your third house. This is the house of communication. Now, this eclipse is happening at the very end of your third house, and you have Pluto at the very beginning of your third house. So your third house, Aquarius, you look at how you communicate. Look at maybe there's a book that you have in you that you are ready to put out into the world, or that you've just been saying, oh no, I'm not able to write. You are meant to. There is something in you, writing, teaching, speaking, internet-based technology, travel, all of these areas you are being asked to transform in your life. Maybe something comes up with your siblings and there's a relationship that needs to be healed there as well. And last but certainly not least, fellow Pisceans, this is happening for us in our second house. This is the house of finance and possessions. It is important, Pisces, to go through and release the possessions that are no longer serving you. Let go of the things you've been holding on to that you don't need anymore. The things you're like, well, maybe I'm holding on to this for a rainy day. Let it go. And if that release can happen, it can be renewed and replaced with something even better, something beyond our wildest dreams. Pluto just entered into that house, into our house of finance as well. So it's really looking at, okay, so what is it that, where can we transform our finances? Where have we had our head in the sand? What expenses can we let go of? And where are we open to allowing financial abundance in? Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you listen to your sun, moon, and rising as always. And if you're interested at all in the Moon to Mad, it's a labor of love. I am so excited to have it launched. Then check it out. See you in the next video.